strong, empowered, authentic.
What's up, Ginger Nation? This is Tosh.
This is Darren, and you are listening to the Authentic
Ginger Podcast. Welcome to the Authentic Ginger Podcast. I'm Tosh Taylor.
And I'm Darren Roach. And on today's episode, we have Kelly Mulvihill. I'm going to hopefully say that right. She's going to tell me in 2 seconds. Okay. Kelly is super talented. She has a multimedia resume that includes, like, Tosh, this is crazy. Film, TV, language junkie, designer and coder, and traveler. Like, to me, it sounds like we could create a podcast video game with all these credentials. Welcome to the show, Kelly. How are you?
Hi. Oh my gosh. What an intro. I hope I can live up to it. I'm good.
Before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you for coming on the show, because I've been following your progression on Instagram for at least a couple of years now. And I know we've touched base back and forth and a couple of times. I'm like, oh, I really want to get her on the show. And, so I want to thank you, I should say, for taking the time to visit Tosh and I, because I'm looking forward to this. So thank you again.
Of course, yes. And the scheduling always is rough, especially we live so far. But yeah, I'm super excited. Yeah, I always wanted to come on, so I'm glad it finally worked out.
Yeah, us too, for sure. So our first thing that we like to ask is about you growing up as a redhead. So you told me before we started recording that you grew up kind of upstate in New York. So tell me how many redheads were in school with you.
I can probably actually count them. And a lot of them were my friends, because we tend to one recognizes the other, and we're like, hey,
that's
something
right.
about us is different, but the same as each other.
Yes.
Maybe like 3 or 4 other people, and I think they were all girls. Yeah. One of my good friends growing up was a redhead, or is too. So, yeah.
And how did that work? How did you guys get along in school? Like, obviously, get along pretty great with your redhead friends. How did it go with others? Did you experience anything as far as light bullying, or was it opposite for you?
Honestly, I think I was pretty oblivious for the majority of my childhood. I think when I was really young, I got attention from adults, specifically much older women. Mm-hmm. I'm also Irish, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And my Nana, I'm like the crown jewel, because I came out with like bright red hair. And I'm also, I think, her youngest granddaughter.
Right.
So that was like where I realized that I had red hair. She would bring me around to like her Irish friends and be like, look what my son made. And they're like, yeah.
So was this in Ireland, or was this in upstate New York?
No, that's in upstate New York.
Upstate New York. So there must be a pretty decent amount of redheads there. I don't know if it's going to be as many as like Kentucky or something like that, but there must have been must have seen a lot of redheads kicking around there.
Yeah, I think like not so many, and like I would get comments about my hair, and I probably always will, but right. I think compared to like somewhere really rural, where nobody else has anything else to do but bully people, unfortunately,
True.
I am in a really like huge, one of the biggest metropolitan areas in the world, so there's people from all over, and I'm not that far, so a lot of people come from the city and they live up here, so yeah, a lot of different folks, which I like.
Mm-hmm. That's good though that you didn't because I feel the same way. I was completely oblivious to the fact that I was any different than anybody else growing up because of my hair color and my pale skin and freckles. Like nobody ever really pointed it out. It was more for me, it was like my grade 5 or grade 6 teacher that was like the first person that really, besides like the little ladies stopping you in the grocery store or whatever, but he was the first person that like ever really said anything to me about my hair and like kind of made it derogatory, which I didn't realize. Yeah, it was weird.
What?
Anyway, yeah.
Teacher?
Yeah. But
Wow.
yeah, I like that. It's nice to hear that because Darren and I have interviewed some people that have just been through hell and back because it's their hair color, and it blows my mind. I feel so bad for them. Yeah.
I've seen like stories on Instagram and stuff, and I'm like, wow, like
Yeah.
Right.
very lucky. Unfortunately, I really didn't, I guess, maybe I did and I didn't notice, which honestly, ignorance is bliss. But I was very
Good point.
studious from a young child onward. And I had like my group of friends and we kind of just traveled together, like impervious, like a big block. And I made it through pretty unscathed.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's the key. Maybe that's the key right there. You might have just learned something. If you stuck together and you took your cohort everywhere you went, it'd be almost impossible to run into, perhaps not impossible, but hard to run into a situation where you're going to be like, you know what, this is this, are you making fun of me or whatever? Because if you're all together, masses, right? Like, who's going to come up to you and say, "Oh, can I speak to you, redhead, out of the pack? You're in the pack."
I need to bully someone.
Right?
You're very vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly.
That's yes. And then I'll let you go back. Yeah.
Yeah. So for any of you who's listening here on this podcast this morning, make that a note that you should travel in packs.
I guess if it comes down to it,
seriously, but yeah. Nature. It is, but it's really cool that it's good that you had this friendship with these other friends of yours that you could do that with, and that you didn't notice the noise. You kept the noise out, even if it was there or not. You weren't 100% sure if it was there, but good for you for doing that. Now, upstate New York, Tosh. First of all, I have to say something. Sorry, Kelly. I'm gonna just skip to Tosh for 2 seconds. Your hair looks extremely red today, Tosh. First time I've seen it in a long time. That's other than in person, but it looks really red. So normally it looks a bit more blonde when you're down in the studio, but today in this kitchen, it's red.
It's the natural light. In the studio, it's usually a ring light blasting in my face. Yeah, and right. This is my kitchen light, or maybe it's the burgundy sweater. I don't know, but I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, geez, all right.
I'm thinking the green contrast. I mean,
yeah,
right.
Green wall, yeah.
Well,
I didn't mean to derail that question I was coming up with, but no, that's really cool, Tosh. I'm glad you have red hair today that we can all see. But here's what I'm going to ask: what is it with redheads and film? Yeah, redheads in film. So we've had, haven't we, Tosh? We've had a number of redheads that are, that they're it's going after the film and TV, whether it's commercial work or whether it's movie work or whatever. What is it that draws a redhead to film? Is there something behind this, Kelly?
I feel like, I mean, I think the people that you might find on Instagram, for one, are probably people who are advertising themselves in some way. And there's always a motive, right? You want to get into the business or whatever.
Right.
But also, I don't know. I think redheads tend to be, this is probably a hot take, emotional creatures. And that like path and doing that professionally, it's basically, at least for acting, being like professionally emotional in some way. Right.
Because you're an actor or an actress. I'm not sure how it goes these days. Actress?
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want. We'll go.
I use both interchangeably.
There you go. Did you realize that your hair could be something that takes you to that path, or is this path not incorporated with the color of your hair? I'm really curious about this now because, like I said, we've had a few on, but I'm curious to know from your perspective. Did you know that you had the hair, your hair color could be a standout in film and TV, and that's why you went after that industry?
Definitely related. I think I always knew I wanted to do that. Mm-hmm. And in this industry, especially in New York or LA,
right,
everyone and their mother wants to be in some form of acting, modeling, like right. Someone's doing it on the side, someone's doing it at their job, everybody. Right. So anything that could make you stand out is huge. Right. Granted, like I pretty much, whenever I go into an audition, at least when they were in person, it's like that scene from the Emma Stone movie with Ryan Gosling, where she goes into the audition room and it's all redheads. I'm like, hey guys, what's up? But yeah, after I started doing this, I realized how much of an asset it really was. And it's like being a different ethnicity, really. Because like in a commercial, especially, they have like, I guess, token people, unfortunately, to like portray diversity a lot of the time. And then like the redhead is like not considered like just like a Caucasian person. It's like we need a redhead Caucasian person. That's like a different category.
Yeah,
So.
which is why I always call the redhead community the redhead culture, right? That's just the way it is. But the way I see it, I should say. Sorry. Do you run into situations with your hair that's a negative in film and TV so far?
Not that I know of. Again, I guess this is like a theme. Maybe
Yep.
I'm just like ignorance is bliss should be my my life
Good for
motto.
you.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think that it's very striking, especially like on film. So if there's some role that needs to be a little bit more inconspicuous and they put me in it, like girl handing latte, although I've done that role many times, it's kind of like, wow, that's hair. And it's like pretty long, it's pretty thick, so it's not like chill in any way. If you need like a character who's pretty like low key or just moving the story along, it might be a little bit not great to cast somebody who's so visually like there.
Okay. So when you are trying out for different roles, are you trying out for lead roles and finding that you're not getting them? Like, do you think that your hair might have something to do with that at all?
You really never know.
Yeah.
You hardly ever get feedback. It could be anything as simple as hair, eyes, height is a big one that you wouldn't realize, because if they already have a lead who's a male celebrity, I'm assuming, or another female celebrity, and I'm so much taller or shorter, that's gonna pose a huge problem in terms of like being distracting. Yeah, it can really be anything. Sometimes they hold auditions when they already have an idea of who they want and they need to like fill slots. If you figure it out and you realize my hair is the thing, please let me know.
Right.
Because I need all the help I can get.
That's what I find over the few people that we have that are in the industry, and a lot of them say that their red hair is the barrier.
Really?
Yeah. Like
maybe I'm learning something now too. Like, what do they say?
And well, in our most recent episode, she actually has taken like a chunk of her hair and dyed it blonde to kind of give her a more edgy look, because she was finding that too much, like over and over again, she wasn't getting the role because she stood out too much. So this way she was like, okay, well, I'm going to stand out for more than one reason now, not just my hair, but also just my hair. Do you know what I mean? But that does make me wonder if some director said to you, like, Kelly, you are perfect for this role, except I'd like for you to be a blonde. Would you do it?
That's what I was going to ask you.
I've been asked, yes.
Yeah.
So this is actually a pretty good story for this, very relevant. I recently did a film for Universal Studios. It's a very small role, but it was a very, I guess, important role for moving that story along in those few scenes. And the director had asked me to actually cut my hair and dye it a little bit lighter. So this would be to like a lighter color red. I've never dyed my hair in my life. And the size of this role to me didn't warrant making a change like that, because if you in this industry change anything, you need all new materials, new headshots, new reel.
Oh, right.
That's not what you look like anymore. That's a huge investment in terms of time, money. I have so much work that I've done that I'm using, and then I just throw it all out and I have nothing now in one day for one gig. So I had said, thank you, but I don't think this is going to work out for me. And at that point, he was like really invested in using me, and time was ticking. So he's like, okay, like, what do we do? So he ended up ordering a redhead wig of that color and that, I guess, length. And I ended up being wigged as a redhead.
Oh, man.
Wow.
I love that.
It's expensive. I remember I accidentally saw the price tag and I was like, if you just paid me that money,
yeah, well,
the conversation would have went differently.
Right. That's what I was going to ask. So I was going to ask you this question. How much would it have taken for that small role, but which was important to the story and moving along? How much would it take? Would it take $200,000? Would it take $1 million? Like, are we under 200,000? Like, what are we talking here? I'd do anything.
I think it would have to take the amount to cover getting all new headshots and stuff, plus more.
Right. Right.
So maybe,
and it changes your entire look, right?
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So Good call. And by the way, I applaud you for waiting because I think you had him by the you know what, and perhaps he had no choice, but he was also invested in you, and that's the biggest important piece is that he said that you are the person that I want. How do we make it work? So good for you on that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like the ask was pretty last minute as well. So I'm actually surprised. I think like my fight or flight came in and I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
So maybe it was a positive and I just like stuck to my guns. But dyeing and cutting my hair, a lot of modeling gigs ask. It's just not worth it, especially if you're more into the acting side of things. It's a lot.
And are you more into the acting side of things or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think originally I was more into the modeling. But my goal has always been the acting. So I'm like, I've pivoted pretty well. And that's my focus now.
That's understandable. I mean, and I think, and maybe this is because I am no model, but I feel like modeling, you can only like there is an end date for people, right? Like there comes a point where unless you are like the highest supermodel out there, you're not modeling into your 40s or 50s. Am I wrong? Maybe Heidi Klum is, but
like a give and take. Yeah, I think there is you always need like models of every age to portray like mom or like for like a medical commercial grandma.
Yeah,
Like I know like 75-year-old models who are like doing like diabetes like model, like everything. If you see a human on a package or in a commercial, like that's technically
right.
model.
yeah, true.
But I think the majority of like super lucrative, consistent work happens in that prime time. And that's when you can really take off. And a lot of models now are like business people too, influencing and trying to like make some kind of longevity for themselves. The industry in terms of that has changed so much in the past 5 years since I've been doing this. So it's crazy.
I've never been a model. Now, I've tried. Don't know what kind of model I'd be, but
not too late.
No, there you go. Everyone needs a 60-year-old somewhere. Right? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that old.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you want after the show, I'll hook you up. I got the hookup, man.
There you go. I would think, honestly, and I find it interesting that you chose the film route, and we're gonna move on to something else here in a second. But I just had one last comment on your film work and your model work. To me, it seems there would be a lot more money faster in modeling than there would be in film. So what does it take to go, I'm going to leave that money behind? You're a redhead, which means, when it comes down to modeling, I think that's even more prestigious than it would be in film. But what would it take? Like it must take this energy that's pulling you towards this faster money, and perhaps even more, not necessarily a longer run, but something that's pulling you to leave that behind and go to film. How does it? Do you think about that? Do you think about that the career, the money career is more lucrative over there? Why didn't I stay there?
Yeah, every day.
Do you?
When I look
sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you.
I'm so triggered. No, I mean, I still do it. I don't not do it. I think I'm just a lot more selective in the gigs that I pick, because getting a 15-page audition, I need a few days to prepare, to film it, to actually do a good job. So like that's so much time. And if I'm doing all these print gigs as well, there's no way. And also it's gonna be so bad if I do it when I get home from like a gig and it's 9 p.m. I'm like, oh, here we go. But it is a choice you have to make. And it's something that me and other actor friends who are non-redheads talk about all the time. Like, and it's so hard. Hard because you still get the opportunities. So it's more of like an active, constant choice rather than a like, we're not doing this anymore, because that doesn't mean your agent's not sending you those gigs.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh no. Like, but it's a hamster wheel. It is, because they're just going to keep coming. And it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. A lot of people would love to be in that position. But when you're a human and you only have a certain amount of focus, and this is something I'm still actively learning, I need to like figure out what I want, and then my energy needs to go there as opposed to just spreading it. So,
right. Are you saying you're too busy to be our ambassador model for our new brand launch?
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
That's a different conversation.
No.
I can always make time.
Yeah,
Me, I'm
nice
like, yeah,
answer.
sure.
Nice answer. I love it.
Yeah, diplomatic for sure.
That's right. Tosh, how many languages do you know?
One.
Oh, okay. I thought some reason I thought you were going to tell me two.
No, I was raised
How
in
many
Ontario. We have one language, and it's Ontario.
Okay, it's Ontarian.
Actually,
right?
it's
Yeah.
actually
Beautiful
separate.
language.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's its own language. That's for sure. Kelly, your language. What's the word I'm looking for?
Linguistic.
You have languages.
Word.
You
I
do.
use the enthusiast in my Instagram bio.
Yeah.
I just love it, and I
So-
also have a degree in Spanish.
Oh, there you go. So how many languages do you know?
So I would say 2.5.
2.5?
I know English and Spanish
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yep.
But I think I'm learning French right now,
Awesome.
on my own. So I'm not quite to the point of like speaking it well. I also have no
Right.
one to practice with.
You
But
what?
I have no one to practice with.
Oh, right. There you go. Right. Yeah.
Myself
Well,
and my cats.
Spanish movies. There's tons of them. And Redhead. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, no, Spanish I'm good. The French
Oh, it's the
is
French.
a little bit worse. Yeah. I have a lot of Spanish friends as well. So
Do you? Awesome. That's fantastic. Excuse me. I want to dive into this this designer and coder. So I'm assuming you're a graphic designer. Would that be fair to say that?
graphic and web designer. Yeah, I do
Graphic
a lot
and
more
web.
stuff.
Okay, and that's where the coding comes in, right? So were you taught that, or is that something you've brought in on your own?
I taught myself. I have another degree in graphic design.
Oh my God.
This is what I'm saying. I just spread myself all over, and then I'm tired, and I wonder why.
Hold on. How old are you?
I know.
I can't tell you that.
You look like you're like maybe 20, and I'm
my
trying
goodness.
to figure out how you get all these things done.
Unbelievable.
Sleep is a thing that I'm not familiar with.
Okay.
But
I think that's a redhead thing, by the way.
oh yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I'm always doing 8 million things at one time. So I
That's why when you
understand that.
signed on, you're like, it's all chaos here, and
Yeah.
I thrive in chaos. I'm like, this is gonna be.
Yeah, we're gonna be just fine here.
Yeah,
No,
we'll
you
be
don't have to actually tell me how old you are. I just was thinking to myself, like, you literally look like you could still be in high school. So, like, you've got millions of years to learn all of these other languages too, which, by the way, if you need some French help, I have 2 kids in French immersion. They'll hang out with you anytime you like.
cute.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can do Zoom babysitting.
Yeah, it'll be perfect.
That's
They can be your French tutors. They're only 8 and 10,
Amazing.
but it'll be fine.
No, that's like honestly, they're still above me right now.
Yeah.
That level. Probably in English too.
Yeah. Sorry, I derailed that. Okay, so web designer, that is something that Darren is very interested in these days with the new relaunch, I'm sure, too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, you got it. I don't do it myself.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. But it's all creative, I think. Everything that I do, I tend to I like anything that's like creative, and
Yeah.
I can use that muscle. So
Are you doing that for yourself mainly, or do you have customers on the side? Like, would that be one way that you can sort of pay the bills as things are coming in with everything else? Yeah. So you've got your side hustle and
yeah, not so much these days, honestly.
Okay.
Luckily,
Good.
knock on
That's a good
every
thing.
piece of wood in my house. I haven't had to really do it. But it's always there, and that's by design. I think that's like such a perfect side gig. You can do it from anywhere. Everyone needs a website. Everyone wants a website. And
Everyone should be lucky to have one like yours too, by the way. Did you do your own?
yeah.
Man, did you see it, Tosh?
No, I will
I need to
scrape
update it. Oh my
It's
goodness.
quite good. It's quite good. I was happy to go on there. It's yeah, it was awesome.
That's the goal.
Awesome.
User experience. It's all
That's
about
right.
you. Yeah. No, it's
Exactly.
true. It is.
That's right. I know. Yeah, for sure. And you slap in there traveling as well. So I mean, are you a travel nerd? Like, are you going all the time? Or I mean, obviously you can't. But when you're busy, but when you have time, do you have time to do that? Do you have time to travel?
I travel a lot for work.
Yeah.
Granted, not internationally yet.
Yes.
But I've been all over the US for different gigs. And I lived in Madrid in Spain for almost a year while I was in college. Which also hence the Spanish. Yeah, I'm older than I look. Which, like, I love that you said that, because at Netflix, like, I'm ready for the new teen drama.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, my age playing that age is very common. But yeah, I've been all over Eastern Europe as well, because actually I'm only half Irish. I'm also half Croatian.
Yep.
So I've been to all those countries. Where else? Canada, of course.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yes. I bet you haven't been to where we are.
No.
I bet you've only been to Toronto or Montreal.
Yeah. Actually, not Toronto either. I really
Oh.
Yeah, I went to Montreal, and then I went to Quebec City.
Oh,
Okay.
that's beautiful.
Oh, it's so nice.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
European,
Yes. Yeah, it is. We haven't been there yet, actually.
Really?
Nope.
Oh my goodness. It's so beautiful.
It is.
Yeah.
Very unique.
Very unique. Yeah. Yeah. It's neat for sure. I think you could test out your French there. However, their French is different, and everybody's got their own, their own dialect, I suppose. But yeah, my first time in Quebec City was rough, because I don't speak it, nor do I read it. So it was rough.
Yeah, they had a tough time. Again, like, I think that's just what I'm learning from this interview, is like, maybe I need to be a little bit more aware. But I'm like us, right? Coasting, man. I'm having a fine time. So.
That's true. That's good. I mean, so, I don't know if this has come to you or not before, but if it doesn't, and if it didn't, how would you handle this? Because you haven't had experiences of any kind of type of bullying that you are aware of. A 10-year-old comes up to you and has a hard time with school, having a hard time, just kind of get by and everything else, and that you find out that they've been bullied. What are you saying to that little redhead at 10 years old, boy or girl?
They're bullied because of their hair.
Yeah.
I would say what's actually going on, I think, which is that person is likely jealous.
Right.
And when you have something that someone else can't have, a lot of people who are very insecure in themselves or have issues going on tend to project outward. So it's not about you at all. And I would try to tell them, this is like a very advanced level of empathy, I think, but I think it's good. I don't know, depending on the 10-year-old, to feel sorry or bad for that person, because they're obviously struggling. People who aren't struggling in some way don't act that way towards other people. But also on the more 10-year-old side of things, I would say to just keep going forward. The people who are your real friends would never do that to you. And that person you're not going to remember in a year, 2 years, in your next class. And I mean, that there's so many other things in this world besides your hair that you're like, that are so important. And that it makes you special and unique, and that you should never let anybody else think negatively of you or have you think negatively about yourself. To trust yourself.
Love it. I love that. Okay. I want to know what's next for you. What's your next gig or your next plan, or not next website? Because that's not what we want to be doing right now.
yeah. Let's manifest next gig. So I actually took off some time the past month for health reasons. But I just started getting back into it as of like 2 weeks ago.
Awesome.
I recently did a photo shoot for Target. Nice. Speaking of not modeling anymore.
Great. Yeah.
The price was right. That's what I'll say. And
go.
Also Target. That's crazy.
Right.
It's a client of mine for anybody. Really cool. And I'm auditioning. I actually have a movie coming out also. I should probably say this.
Yes.
December 10th. I filmed it in Buffalo, New York, for 3 weeks. That's real estate York. A few months ago. It's a Christmas movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I play the lead's little sister.
No way. Do we know what the title is, or are you allowed to say it?
So they changed the title.
Okay.
So I don't really know what the final title is going to be. I think
Okay.
it's A Crown Prince for Christmas now.
Okay.
You be a prince for the holidays. There's a prince involved.
Okay. We
Yeah,
can
there
find
you
him.
go.
Great guy.
Look for the Christmas movie with the prince.
Yes, it's through Great American Family Network.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It'll likely be on streaming services. I'm
Sure.
not sure which or where,
Find
but
it.
yeah, December 10th. It's premiering. So
We will make sure that we follow your posts on Instagram when that
Oh
happens.
yeah,
'cause
it'll
I'm
be there.
assuming you
Don't worry.
will. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then we'll share that on our socials as well because we like to
please
spread the love.
do.
So,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
for sure.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
I'm the only redhead in the cast, so
Hey,
you'll find me.
Yeah.
by the way, have you ever thought about directing and creating a redhead film show?
Writing, for sure.
Writing.
Yeah.
I think I'm more of a writer vibe than a director vibe.
It's that creativity again.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's more of like I want to create things, like in terms of me. Not saying that directors don't, but I think that's more my speed. And actually, fun fact, speaking of redhead characters and stuff like that, in Halloween, every year I'm a redhead character. And I've been doing it for
awesome.
like 8 years because half my costumes got my head already. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a different one every year.
Every year, different one.
What was it this year?
This year was Eliza Thornberry from The Wild Thornberrys.
Very
it's a Nickelodeon show from the 90s. Yeah.
I'm surprised I don't know it or have heard of it. Have I, Tosh?
Pretty niche. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's old
Tosh,
now.
It is? Yeah. Okay,
old now,
that means we're old now. Tosh and I grew up
I'll
in the
give
90s.
you a clue about my age.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was watching that. Dang. Gave it away.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
It always comes out.
Yeah. Tosh, you did right.
Yeah.
We figured it out. That's fantastic. Well, listen, this has been a fantastic conversation. Look, I'm super impressed with you. I mean, like I'm a creative person. I mean, as you can see, I've been pressing hats back here this morning and doing a bunch of things and shirts and stuff. But man, I've got nothing on you. I mean,
that's not true at all. I've never ever thought about, or probably would be able to do a podcast. So props to you. I'll come on for an hour, but in terms of me being there every time.
Do you want to know? Here's a pro tip for you. This show is not mine. It is, but this show is her. Tosh. She's all of this show. Do you know Tosh is a podcast producer, has a business that does all this? Without her, we're not talking today.
Yeah. And we almost didn't. So let's put it that way. That's right. I almost fell apart at the seams today. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah. And for any of those who are listening, I like to put this plug in every now and again, which I don't know if I've done before, but the Podcast Hub is Tosh's company. If you're looking to get into a podcast, that's where you want to go because that's where you want to get started. Podcast Hub, Tosh Taylor.
Cool.
I'm blushing. Awesome. Thank you. That's
and Kelly, so where can people follow you? Where's the best way for people to get in touch with you and all your things, everything media?
Yeah, so I have Instagram, of course. It's at Kmul, Kmul is a kitty. I made the handle before I got into the industry, and then I kept it. And now it's a thing, so I can't change it. Also, somebody has my actual name. I actually had DM'd them at one point, and I was like, "Hey, girl, it'd be really cool of you." And she was like, "Nah, shoot your shot, shoot your shot."
Yeah.
Is it? Can you say that again? Because I don't know how to say it.
So my name is Kelly Mulvihill, obviously.
Mulvihill, yeah.
My friends growing up called me K-Mul. So it's Kmulisa is a kitty. Kitty. Meow.
So, say it as one word.
Meow.
K-Mul is a kitty.
K-Mul is a kitty. Oh, I see it now. Okay. Jeez, it took me a few seconds.
She really had to spell that out for you.
She literally did. Yeah, absolutely.
Literally.
It looks like a jumble of letters. It's really not great.
You were super easy to find. I found you while we were doing the interview, so it's not hard. Yeah.
Boom. There you go. Yeah. It's all said and done. Before we go, was there anything you had for us? Did you have any questions for us at all? If not, that's fine too. But we always like to ask our guests if there's any questions at all that you might want to ask that we can answer or try.
Yeah, sure. It's like such a unique podcast topic, I think. It is. It really is. And it's cool. because it's just like this thing. Like, I don't know if I know of any other podcasts that center around not just redheads, any kind of hair, maybe like, I don't know, hair in general.
There is none.
Maybe. Yeah. But yeah, not a specific hair color or anything like that. Not a culture. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I also want to thank you for making it.
You're welcome.
A lot of people, like you said, I've seen horror stories about people feeling so bad about something that's so beautiful and unique, and it's such a waste. It really is, because like they can't even enjoy it. So seeing these people and how they've used their hair as an asset in their life is really cool. So
yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to inspire, empower, and educate, all in one show, which is why we're really happy to do this. And again, I don't think this would happen without Tosh, because she is the redhead of the show. I just produce redhead kids. That's all I do. But otherwise, yeah, there you go.
The world needs that too. Yeah,
keep the population going.
Redheads, Tosh?
One of them. Yeah. But she's like a strawberry blonde. So a lot of people are like, she's a blonde. And I was like, no, she's a ginger. I don't care what you say. And her hair does get darker and darker the older she gets. I came out fire engine red, and neither one of them did. So I'm working on it. I'm not dyeing it. I'm working on it. I don't dye it red, but I feed her red things all the time. I'm kidding. Just wait for the Irish in her to come out. Yeah.
Yep.
It's there. That's right.
What do they say about redheads? It's our hair's red because we steal the souls of our. I don't remember what it is, but there's some.
A lot of people ask if I have a soul. That's a.
Yeah.
Get comments.
See, there you go.
Compartmentalize them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I'm pretty quick, so I just come back and I'm just like.
Yeah.
Say something else or.
Yeah, you sounds like you would be like that, which is great. It's a great quality
let it
to
roll
have.
Off. Exactly.
Listen to that, kids. Listen to that.
Yeah.
Because then it's like also like, well, you have brown hair, so there's a lot of things that are brown that aren't pleasant. One in particular I can think of.
Yeah, pick one.
Bye.
Yeah, that's right. We will not get into that this time. Maybe next time. Anyways, listen, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you for taking the time to come on, and I look forward to seeing what happens in the future. And we'll check out that film, that Christmas film coming out December 10th. We'll put that on our socials too, and we'll put all of your socials in our show notes. So people can access you at any given moment on this podcast.
Yay. Thanks so much, guys. It's been so fun. It's so nice to finally meet you.
Yes.
You too. And you've been listening to the Authentic Ginger Podcast. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, guys.
You've been listening to the Authentic Ginger Podcast.
Become a part of the Ginger Nation by liking, subscribing, following, and leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. This podcast was produced by Tosh Taylor of the Podcast Hub Productions. Find her online at podcasthub.ca.